Hey mini bike friends, Dan Przowski from allaboutminibikes.com here. Today we're checking out a true vintage gem. This is a 1974 JCPenney Golden Pinto mini bike. They're sold through department stores in the 1970s and they're a real piece of mini bike history. But one of the questions I have for you is down in the comments below. If you could put down what your favorite vintage mini bike is or was, or classic mini bike, and if you owned one or not, or if you own it today. I always wanted this when I was a kid, but there was no way I was going to get it, and I didn't. Got a mini bike eventually, but not this one. It took me till I was 65. But anyway, so put that in the comments because I'm curious about that, as well as our other people who are watching would like to see that. But the JCPenney, this here Golden Pinto, it's manufactured by Bird Manufacturing. They are out in Fremont, Nebraska. Now, they also did mini bikes for Sears, and a lot of the parts were interchangeable and things like that, because there was only a couple of manufacturers for these mini bikes, whether it was Sears, Montgomery Ward, JCPenney. These were so popular because they were in department stores everywhere, and then 4 times a year there was usually a catalog came out: spring, summer, winter, and Christmas. And they always had these mini bikes in there, and us kids opened it up and drooled over them and looked at them. But let's go look at this here vintage mini bike and see what we have, okay? So these mini bikes were really super popular. They stood out. They had great color, the design, the engine. When you'd see them in the magazines, or better yet, go to the store, it was really crazy how good they looked, and just they drew you like a moth to a light. So the frame was trying to get a little bit modern in the design with the rear shocks. They didn't have any in the front. Anybody from back then remembers this logo here. And now the rims on mine, of course, rusted. They need brushed out really good. I've kept this right now, original. Don't know if I'm going to fix it up or not. I kind of hate to, because I like to say, hey, it came from the factory. So with this mini bike, it had a nice big wide seat. It had what was called the scrub brake, and you push down on the pedal with your foot, and you can see right here that pad would scrub against the tire. So it's called the scrub brake, and that's how you would stop it. It had a type of suspension back here. Very basic. What I say is that here's your swing arm. So the seat would pivot up and down as the shocks when it would go up and down, and there was your swing arm. Where on a motorcycle or different mini bikes, a swing arm would be down here and do the pivoting. So it was kind of crude, but it worked, and that was what was important. It had that classic design where they put the stripes on the fenders. That's the rear fender right there, and that's the front fender. It was always cool looking, especially when you were a kid. Motors on these bikes were usually Tecumseh. Earlier they were Briggs & Stratton, but Briggs & Stratton quit putting the motors on mini bikes. They opted out, most likely I heard because of lawsuits and such, but Tecumseh became the main supplier for all mini bikes for the motors. As the 70s went in, they kind of beefed up the frames a little bit by putting these supports here that they would weld on there, so that there'd be less chance of crack on the frame, which these frames never crack or do anything like that if you ride them like you should. But if you're doing what you shouldn't be doing and coming off of jumps and that, and there's no suspension, you're going to crack that frame. I'm missing the kickstand on this one. It's one of the few parts that was missing. It would kick out from underneath here, and kind of like the old motorcycles used to stand up. I still have the original. This came with the original throttle grips on here. Throttle or handlebar grips, should I say. This type of waffle. Go back here. I'm sure they sold many thousands of these mini bikes because they were just so popular. And just like a certain car or a bike or a motorcycle that hits the market that just captures everybody's attention, that's what the Golden Pinto was. You show an old ad or a Golden Pinto, and people just love it. It floods their mind with memories. So how about we fire this motor up and see how she sounds, all right? All right, mini bike friends, let's light this candle. get her down, we'll go for a ride. Well, mini bike friends, it's a good thing that I took the short ride around the block because I ran out of gas right as I came up here. But hey, the Golden Pinto, it's one of those mini bikes that just takes you back to the 1970s. If you grew up, you know what I mean, and you knew how much you liked them and loved them. Hey, you got a Golden Pinto mini bike? Put it in the comments. Put a picture in there if you can, okay? We're always looking for some new ideas, new things to look or talk about. So put an email to me or put it down below. Subscribe to our channel and tell us what more you'd like to see. Thanks for watching. Remember, ride those vintage mini bikes and visit our site allaboutminibikes.com and get on our newsletter. It's free, and we also have sales for the parts that we sell as well as the XR Retro mini bike. Take care.